Well, we got injury updates for both Terry Rozier and Josh Richardson. Both of them left yesterday's game against the Boston Celtics. MRIs have returned for both Richardson, shoulder, and Rozier's knee. So today we are going to update you on both of them. Both got good news. We'll get to that in just a minute. So I'm very, very happy because it could have been much worse than it actually is. But listen, we lost to Boston yesterday. I can't stand the Boston Celtics. I despise them with every fiber in my being. They tried to injure Duncan Robinson, that scumbag Jaylen Brown. They did injure Josh Richardson and Terry Rozier. If you were with me and you can't stand the Boston Celtics, like the video. I hate the Boston Celtics. Can't tell. I'm smashing that like button. Do it with me. F the Celtics. All right, let's jump into it because Terry Rozier has avoided the major injury. I was very nervous. I thought it could have easily been a torn ACL or MCL. I was literally scared shitless. I was tweeting about it all day, about the pit in my stomach and the stress that was over my head. But luckily, the MRI just showed a sprained right knee, and he will be evaluated on a week-to-week basis. He obviously suffered that injury yesterday against those scummy Celtics. I will say, this is devastating, but not as devastating as it could have been. If he tore his ACL or was out for the remainder of the season, this season for Miami would have been absolutely cooked. And I know Rozier has not had the prettiest start to his Miami Heat tenure. His numbers aren't that good. He's shooting sub 40% from the field and sub 25% from three. But his twitchiness, his athleticism, his ability to get the ball up the floor quickly, collapse the defense by getting to the rim, attracting defenders, and kicking it out for teammates has just been invaluable thus far in his first 10 games with Miami. He had, coming into the game against Boston, 56 assists and 11 turnovers. That's one hell of an assist-to-turnover ratio. And then before he left that game against Boston, he added another 5 assists and no turnovers. So that number was going to click and go up to a 6-to-1 turnover ratio. He has been terrific as a point guard for the Miami Heat. And once the shot starts falling, well, then he'll be fine. But we will be without him for multiple weeks. And a sprained knee, to me, honestly, is probably likely going to be a month. I don't know that for sure. Everybody heals differently, and we'll have to see how he goes through the rehab process. But when you say week to week, I usually view that as he is going to be out a month. Now, I will say, this injury did potentially come at the perfect time for the Miami Heat. If you're going to ask Rozier to miss a month, well, it's a good thing that you are going to get 8 or 9 days out of that month of no games being played with the All-Star break just around the corner. But the Heat are obviously going to have to find a way to replace Rozier's productivity on this roster because they have absolutely no depth on this roster at the point guard position. That was an issue before they traded for Terry Rozier. It is still an issue. You could have looked to Josh Richardson being that guy. Well, he's also going to be out multiple weeks, which we'll get to in a second. Which brings me to this. Our sweet prince, Nikola Jovic, I think put the bat signal out in the skyline, folks. Point Jovic is going to have to return. There is just no way you can look at what the Heat currently have on paper with their roster. Richardson out. Rozier out. There is just no way that you are going to be able to survive this timeline without bringing Nikola Jovic back from the dead, back from the ashes into the rotation where he can be a facilitator and a playmaker. I know they just signed Alondes Williams to a 2-way contract. Maybe he gets more PT for Miami, the former Wake Forest Demon Deacon at that guard spot. Maybe they go after a Killian Hayes or a Delon Wright or a Cory Joseph in the buyout market. We'll look at replacements tomorrow, but I am going to ask you this question and kick it to you guys. Are you worried about the Heat's depth in that backcourt? I certainly am, because right now it's Tyler Hero and nobody else. Type Y if you're worried. Type N for no. Coming up in just a bit, Josh Richardson's injury update, because he also left the game with an injury against the Boston Celtics. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I do want to make sure you join the family and subscribe to the Heat Report, because we are going to provide you daily updates on your Miami Heat. We are 160 subscribers away from 8,000. Can we make that push to hit that milestone on today's video? We go live for multiple games a week. We'll be live on Tuesday and Wednesday for games against Milwaukee and Philadelphia. Join us for that and subscribe for daily updates on your Miami Heat. All right, let's switch it over to Josh Richardson, because Shams Charania had that news as well, that he suffered a dislocated right shoulder and is expected to be reevaluated in a few weeks. He has been averaging 10 points in return season in Miami, including 40% from three-point range over the last 2 months. That last note, I think, is very key, because Josh Richardson has been playing very good basketball for your Miami Heat. He got off to a really good start off the bench in late October, early November, and then went through a pretty hard lull in the month of December and early January. But he has really turned a quarter. He was a DNP against the New York Knicks in mid-January on that Saturday game against New York. After that moment, and since he came back from the DNP, he's been terrific. You look at his last 15 games, he's averaging nearly 10 points a contest. He's shooting 37% from three. In that game that Miami finally snapped that 7-game losing streak at home against the Sacramento Kings, if you remember, Richardson had 6 threes in that ball game. Coming off the bench, he had 24 points. J-Rich has been a massive player for Miami as that 7th, 8th man, and he has won them a couple games here over the last 8 to 10 games. It's devastating that Richardson, who is just starting to play such good basketball, is going to miss some time. He is going to be out for at least 2 weeks. But like I said, that All-Star break is right here. That's going to be very helpful for Miami, as they're going to have an 8 to 9 game or day span where they don't play a game, which will allow them to get a little bit more healthy. More on the 2 injury situations in a bit, and also a Jimmy Butler nugget as well. But first, we're running out of sizes at chatsports.com/HeatLS, standing for long sleeve. This sweet black long sleeve you see right here, very limited in sizes. We're only down to about 3 or 4 sizes left, running through the small, medium, large, extra large. So get your hands on this long sleeve right now. Chatsports.com/HeatLS. That link will be in the comments and description of today's video. We're running out, folks. I don't want to tell you one more time. If you want this before it sells out, hit that code right there. All right, let's look at the next man up potentially for the Miami Heat, because Josh Richardson has been a massive key as a shooter, scorer, and ball handler off the bench for Miami, and especially with the Terry Rozier injury as well, someone is going to have to take in that starting lineup. I expect Miami to go to a little bit of a bigger lineup in that first 5 group, where I think it's going to be Jaquez, Caleb Martin, Hero, Jimmy, and Bam when Rozier and Josh Richardson are out. We'll talk about a starting lineup in just a second, because we have a nugget on Jimmy Butler. But Cole Swider is on a 2-way deal. Alondas Williams, who's on a new 2-way deal. The last 2-way deal member, Jamal Cain. And then a Haywood Highsmith. These 4 guys, one of them is going to have to step up and become that shooter off the bench, because Duncan Robinson can't be the only guy that comes off as a reserve and provides 3-point shooting. Highsmith has been a starter at times this season, has been able to knock down shots, but he has been struggling as of late. I think you need one of the 2-way guys to really step up, take out your nutsack, put your balls on the table, and start becoming a member of the Miami Heat for real. F the 2-way. I don't want to see you in Sioux Falls anymore playing for the Skyforce. Become a real member of the Miami Heat. You want to know which one I'm looking at? Looking at you, Cole Swider. Listen, you've been one of the better shooters in the G League this season. You're averaging 24 points a night for the Sioux Falls Skyforce team, and you're shooting damn near 50% from 3. I get it. It's a different ball game in the G League than it is the NBA. But can you give me 38% 3-point shooting off the bench? I feel like I think that's a reasonable ask, right? Like, I'm not asking him to be Duncan Robinson. I'm not asking him to be prime Klay Thompson. All I'm asking him to do is do exactly what Josh Richardson did. Obviously, Swider is not going to do what Richardson can do in terms of getting to the mid-range, getting to the elbow, and hitting those little 15-foot fadeaway jumpers. But in terms of catch-and-shoot three-pointers and coming off curls, coming off pin downs, like, we can run sets for Cole Swider because of how dynamic he is as a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. He could be a Duncan Robinson light. And I get the defense could be ugly. But if you wanted to go with an offensive lineup here of both Duncan Robinson and Cole Swider on the floor at the same time, well, I'll tell you what, opposing defenses, they're not going to be able to sag off your main guys, Bam, Jimmy, Tyler. If they do that, boom, kick out, Duncan, splash, Swider, splash. Like, you could have a really effective offense. And I'll also add this. I love Jay Rich. He's been playing really good lately. But let's not act like he has been as good as a defender as we thought he would be once returning to Miami. He hasn't been able to contain the dribble drive. He has been a traffic cone out there at times defensively. Now, he does have long arms and can contest some shots, unlike Cole Swider and Tyler Hero can. But I think Swider might be able to stay in front maybe of a little bit more quicker guards and wings, as Josh Richardson has struggled with that ability. So in conclusion, I'm looking at Cole Swider to be that next man up mentality, be that guy that fills the shooting prowess off the bench for Miami in the 2 to 3 to 4 weeks that Richardson is going to be out. All right, before we do head out of here, I do want to add one more quick nugget surrounding the Miami Heat. It's around our guy, Jimmy Butler. Prayers up to Jimmy and his family. He missed the game on Sunday against the Boston Celtics. His agent put out a press release that he is away from the team due to personal reasons. Someone in his family has passed away. So prayers up to Jimmy. People were wondering when he was going to return. It will not be before the All-Star break. Butler has already been excused and will not play for the Heat against Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday and the 76ers on Wednesday. So the Heat will be without Butler going into the All-Star break. And the next time we'll see Jimmy on a court is the Friday after the All-Star break when the Heat start a West Coast road trip with the New Orleans Pelicans on a Friday evening. All right, that's really it for this time. Make sure you subscribe to us at The Heat Report because I'm going to keep you updated on every single thing surrounding your Miami Heat. And go Heat.